Hey guys, we are checking out our compost pile today. I've been keeping an eye on the temperature of it, and it has not really gotten past 90 degrees. Right now it is sitting at 80. We were hoping that the pile would heat up to between 130 and 160. When you're doing hot composting or thermophilic composting, there's really just a small number of things that could happen to stop you from getting those high temperatures. We've got what would be like a lack of nitrogen or too much carbon in that balance. We've got too much or not enough moisture. And then the fourth one would be like size of the pile, but the size of the pile is fine. It's at least 3 feet high and certainly 3 feet wide. We're gonna go ahead and dig into this thing and show you guys what we're looking for as we're trying to see why our pile hasn't heated up. And then from there, we'll be able to address it. What I'm guessing is that the pile is not oversaturated with water. It's probably undersaturated. It's probably a little dry. So I've got my hose ready to, get it wet as we flip it. Most likely also there's a lack of nitrogen. I've got a couple sources of nitrogen. This is one of my favorite sources. This is just comfrey leaves, and it's really early spring, but the comfrey has already started to kind of spring up. So I collected all that I could. A little goes a long way. This is a great compost activator, very high in nitrogen. And then I've got a bucket and a half of bokashi compost. So this is just kitchen scraps that we fermented, and they're ready to go into a compost pile and turn into soil. They are very high in nitrogen. As I tear this apart, I'm going to flip it right here, and I'll show you how we flip our compost piles. We're going to flip it anyway, but as we flip it, we'll be able to incorporate the nitrogen more. If we flip it and we incorporate the nitrogen and get it watered down and it still doesn't heat up, then we've got more nitrogen that we can add, and we can just continue to kind of finagle it. So basically, this pile is totally salvageable still, and even if we didn't have any nitrogen, we could just let this sit. It would just take a lot longer for it to decompose. Instead, we're going to try and jumpstart the process and get it to heat up to those high temperatures. It also kills the weed seeds and any pathogens that might be in there. Here we go. We've got it covered in burlap and just this kind of fabric. So we'll go ahead and take that off. This is our thermometer, and it's pretty warm right in the middle because it's 90 degrees and it's like 45 degrees out right now. It's from Rio Temp Compost. It's like one of the best probably brands, and would highly recommend just getting yourself one of these. It's maybe 10 bucks on Amazon. So here's the pile. And it actually looks like there's already some weeds that are sprouting up probably from the manure. We'll just take those and toss them, just get them out. They're not really rooted into anything, so they just come out. So here's the technique. I'm just gonna put what's on the top and it'll become the bottom, and I'll try and spread it out as I go. And I'm gonna try and break it up kind of as I drop it. So there's a bunch of little weeds that have sprouted. These are the things that you're hoping to kill with the really high temperatures. I'm just making my base. And yeah, it's definitely warm. It might be just it's not too dry. It's not bone dry, but it probably could use some more moisture. That's my guess. So I'm gonna just do a solid layer. Don't want to overdo it with the nitrogen, but I think this could use it for sure. And I'm gonna also get some of the sides of the compost pile like that. Those are the dry bits, and actually try and put them in the middle. So you're just kind of mixing it up as you go. This seems fairly dry at this point, so we're going to water this down. So you're always trying to keep it 3 by 3 feet. By 3 feet, hopefully it gets 3 feet high. You just kind of have to rake in these last bits. And now I'm going to add some of this comfrey. I've also got some grass clippings that are kind of a mixture of green and brown. They're got a little bit of carbons in them. But even just that layer of comfrey will go a long way. This is the bokashi leachate. It's just the moisture that's come out of the kitchen scraps, the food waste. It's got a lot of microbes in it. It's also nitrogen rich, just like the bokashi itself. So I'm just pouring it on the pile to incorporate it. Okay. There's the bokashi. There's like a whole rotten sweet potato that went bad. There's some scraps from chicken broth that we made and bones and everything. Coffee grounds. A lot of good stuff in there. Grass clippings are phenomenal for composting. You just want to kind of tear them apart a little bit because they'll clump really easily and just they can create anaerobic pockets. So just to the best of your ability, kind of pull them apart so they don't mat. And these grass clippings have actually been sitting for a little while. They're still pretty green, but they've been sitting, so they've kind of got this white fungus in there. They've already started to decompose a bit, which is great. So I'm just patting it down to make it more cylindrical and less like a cone. And so little bits and pieces will roll off. That's all right, because you can just scoop those up and put them on top later. But you really just want to try and make this as much of a cylinder, equal distance across at the bottom and at the top, which isn't ever going to happen, but not perfectly. Let's get the rest of the comfrey leaves in there, and we'll put a little bokashi in there. This is a very full bin, and it actually smells kind of sweet. Actually, don't mind the smell at all. Kind of a sweet, thickly smell. Probably some bones in there. Yep, some chicken bones and cooked onions. We bokashi a lot of our bone broth. Okay, that'll do for that layer. All right, guys, we are losing light, so we're just going to finish up this pile. I'm confident that it'll start to heat up more. We'll check in a couple days. Hopefully it will. It's okay if it doesn't. But basically all we've done is added water. As we flipped it, we've kind of incorporated water and nitrogens. So we've got our bokashi, our grass clippings, and our comfrey leaves. And I think that that's going to do the trick in actually helping this thing to heat up to around between 130 and 160. Like I said, we'll see. We'll check in a couple days and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, here we are about a week later, and the pile is right under 90 degrees again. So it didn't really heat up much. It cooled down when we flipped it last time. It only heated up back to where it was. So we're going to try and flip it one more time. We've got grass clippings and some more bokashi that we'll add to try and boost the nitrogen. We'll take a look at it. I don't think it's too dry in the pile, but we're going to give it one more try and we'll see what that does.
Now, as I was flipping this pile, I was catching some anaerobic scents, which is kind of like a rotten or putrid odor. Nothing horribly strong, but noticeable enough so that I decided that the pile was most likely actually deficient in oxygen or oversaturated with water. So instead of adding in more nitrogen, I just made the call to break up the clumps in the pile, kind of get it a little more fluffy. And I didn't end up adding any more nitrogen except for one small bag of grass clippings.
All right, guys, we have flipped this pile 3 times now, and I think we finally cracked the code on it. As I was flipping it last time, it seemed like it was a bit wet and anaerobic, so I just tried to fluff it out, and I actually didn't add any moisture or that much nitrogen. So I just basically tried to kind of keep it light and fluffy, and it is heating up. I really didn't add anything. I think I added 1 bag of grass clippings, but it's heating up, and it's got up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit within a week, which is a little slower than I would like it, so I'll keep an eye on it. But basically what I'm going to do is just keep checking it every day, and once it like stops raising in temperature, then I'll try and give it another flip and just see if maybe it needs some more aeration. So the whole point of this video was to show how if you make a compost pile and it doesn't heat up right away and you thought you had it balanced, just troubleshoot. You know, you can take it apart, fluff it up, add some nitrogen, add water, add some carbon. You know, maybe you just don't know what the problem is, but you kind of need to feel it out. And that's what we did here. So now I think it's going to heat up into the 130 to 160 range, and we'll have some nice hot compost. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, would you go ahead and subscribe to our channel, like this video, drop a comment as well if you have certain ways that you like to heat up your compost, or if you have any questions, and we can make a video on that in the future.